Yeah.
Cross my fingers. All right, so check this out. I am on the line with Lucia Nogueira. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome. You are a international Kizomba and Semba instructor.
That's right.
You're currently living in San Diego, and you've been dancing Kizomba since 2004.
Yes, more or
Okay.
less. Yeah,
Oh,
it
that's
was.
okay. I understand. You're currently teaching at the Dance North Country in California.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, awesome. And I know it's in addition to Kizomba, Semba, you also dance with salsa, bachata, hip hop, and West Coast swing.
Just the basics, just a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. I understand.
Yeah,
Um, so tell me, I know you were from what is it, Terceira, which is in the Azores Islands
that's right. In
T-
Portugal, yeah.
in Portugal. Tell me about that. What is that like? Because I've never been there.
Wow, you've done your homework. That's great. Well, Azores is it's very tiny islands, some more tiny than others. The smallest has around 400 inhabitants. Where I Yeah, and where I live is the second largest, so around 50,000, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a different experience because you pretty much know everyone.
Sure enough.
And now I'm all over the world and meeting new people, so it's I never lose that sense of wow, in comparison where I came from and where I am today.
Okay, no, I definitely understand that. Uh, It's I have family who is in the country, like middle of nowhere, and so they stay in small towns, so it's pretty much the same thing. Everyone knows each other.
That's great. Where is your family from?
So I stay in the States, obviously. And I have family in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is a small town called Franklin, Virginia. So yeah, it's the middle of nowhere, just farms everywhere. So it's a real small place.
Seems lovely.
It's all right, it's all right.
I
So
miss country.
okay. So I know after there you went to Lisbon for school, correct?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
started studying like public management, I believe you said.
Yes, I studied public administration and management, so that's my background.
Okay, I understand. I'm curious. What I've never been to Lisbon, so please tell me what was that like?
Lisbon is amazing. It's one of my favorite cities, and I've traveled a lot. So I have about three or four places that I found absolutely amazing. And Lisbon is one of those places. The city of my heart. It has everything. It's close to the beach. It has amazing culture, amazing food, amazing wine. People are so nice. You have there people from all over the world. So it's kind of like a tiny melting pot, and it's not a city that is too chaotic when you compare it to other cities. So you can just drive for 20, 30 minutes and you're in the country.
Hey,
So it just has everything there.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm curious. How does I only know America, so I'm curious. How does San Diego compare to Lisbon or Europe? I guess.
Oh, I, well, probably the beach part because it's close.
Okay. They both have beaches.
Yes, true. The water is cold and here and there.
Okay.
But apart from that, no, not so much actually.
Okay. I'm curious. Are people different around the world, or is people in San Diego the same as Europe?
Yes, it's so different. It's completely different rhythms, different ways of reacting, a lot of misunderstanding,
Oh, okay.
which it makes it fun at the end of the day, but it can be very complicated.
Mm. I'm curious. Your English as well. What's your first language? I'm very curious.
My first name is Lucia.
Oh, language. I'm sorry. What's your
Lang-
spoken language?
Oh, Portuguese, of course.
Okay. I got you. I understand. And so, how long have you been, I guess, learning English? Or because you have excellent English.
Well, actually, today I'm not having a very good English day because my baby didn't let me sleep so much.
Hey, you got home late yesterday. I know.
Yeah, but I've learned in school, and I would watch a lot of um, English movies and stuff. I also lived 2 years in London, which didn't exactly help me, my English in terms of speaking English in the US because the expressions are completely different.
So
The
true.
way you, yeah, the way you say things. So I feel it already complicated things even more.
I understand. I, so I contacted you because you know you have your amazing dance background and in Kizomba and everything else. I want to know, can you tell me about, I guess, the culture and the history of Kizomba as best you can?
So Kizomba is actually not a very ancient form of dance. It's actually started, the music started in the 80s, and it was a development from Semba. So Semba is the one that has been around for longer.
Right.
Yeah. So even the dance Kizomba, it just comes in the development of this music and is adapted to the music. So Kizomba, it comes from Semba. It's the same kind of dance, but adapted to a different form of music.
No, definitely.
Mhm.
I'm curious. Did you start with Simba first, or what did you start with?
Um, no, actually, when you start and in Portugal, what happened is that I was with my friends. We say PALOP, which means Portuguese speaking African countries. So when I moved to Lisbon, I didn't know anyone, and the first people that I became friends with was Cape Verdeans. It's islands as well. So the way that we would do things was very similar because Lisbon for us is a big world when you come from an island, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a learning process. And Cape Verdeans, they have a lot of things that are similar to Azorians, which is they're humble people, they're hardworking. They are, very respectful. The way they certain words, the sounds, the food is. So I found that to be a little bit of home away from home kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
So, and then I met other friends from Portuguese speaking countries. And that was it. I just learned about their culture. So when you are with your friends and you go to the club and all of that, you don't just learn one thing.
Mm.
You are in for the whole experience.
Yeah. Right.
You cannot separate. When you go to classes, you can say, okay, I'm just going to learn Kizomba today.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm going to learn Semba today. You don't know what you're going to learn today. You just go in for the ride and whatever they want to do.
No, I definitely understand that. Um, I say on my journey, I actually started with private lessons in Virginia, and she thought the best thing for me to do would be to learn Simba first and then transition into Kizomba.
Yeah.
I find that for me, I'm very lazy, so I do love Simba, but it's just too high tempo for me.
Hmm.
So I like Kizomba just so I can like relax and just take it easy.
Yeah, in a way it makes sense. Everywhere else in the world is going to start with Kizomba and then
Mm,
eventually you learn Semba. The reason why is because Kizomba, the further back you go, the more history, the more background, the more culture, the more technique you will have to learn. But if it's something new, usually it didn't have the time yet to develop and become, a full grown form of art.
mm.
Yeah, and so it's easier to start with Kizomba in that sense. But if you really want to do it right, Semba, it's where Kizomba comes from. So you're just going to the root and
Exactly.
following the process.
I wanna talk about the roots of Simba, culture that I know is from Angola, Africa.
Mhm.
Can you expand upon that? What you know of it?
Yes, the roots of Semba is actually when we refer to Semba, we refer to this new generation form of Semba, which is mostly Semba show and tricks and all of that.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
But Simba, it has the roots go way, way, way back, and nowadays we have this form, and this is called actually Simba show. Is not exactly Simba,
Mhm.
and this Simba show is started with two guys dancing together, and they are called Bruxo and a Bruxa. It's basically the witch and the warlock. So these two guys, they would just have fun dancing together and make a showy, a spectacle, like a comedy out of it. And that's what transformed the dance into something else. So it became more common to dance like this.
Okay.
But back in the day, you could not ask a lady to dance and do any form of tricks because she would just look you up and down and tell you, what the hell do you think you're doing?
Okay.
You know? So guys would do this together, but not with a lady. Nowadays, it's very common. So
Yeah.
before that was it. But even before partner dance, because as you know, partner dance is not, it's not part of African culture by itself. And very, very few that I know of. I only know of one example in the continent where they said that they did have a partner dance, but in Angola, that's not the case. Everything is more solo dance. So even
Okay.
it comes from comes from Masemba. Masemba is a belly touch. So
Exactly. Okay. Right. Right. Right.
yeah, so a belly touch on in a specific rhythm with a specific cadence. So before you would dance Semba by yourself, and you would use tribal dance as a form of dancing Semba and Masemba with this belly touch.
Okay.
And Masemba comes from way back. You cannot tell exactly when it started, but the first registers for Masemba is probably in the 17th, 18th century.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of people will say that samba in Brazil comes from Semba, but if when they say this, it's not exactly from Semba as we know it today. It's from this Masemba history.
That's interesting. You know your history of it. It's amazing.
Sometimes when you know too much, you don't know where to start.
I understand that.
And the surprise is complicated.
I'm curious. What is your favorite to dance?
Ah, I like everything, and it depends. It depends on the mood. It depends who you're with
So
or the
true.
DJ. The DJ is so
That's
important.
so. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Of course.
And if it's a house party, I will definitely prefer Semba
Okay.
because it has so much energy, so much life. And if we put, for example, Ghetto Zouk in a house party, you know, the mood is more mellow,
Yeah.
want an upbeat kind of thing and alive and fun. So it just depends on the circumstances, on the time. But if I'm just relaxing at home, I will prefer something more mellow. But
Right.
if I want to clean the house, for example, I want something more upbeat.
I,
Or else I just sit in the couch and do nothing.
I'm curious. Ghetto Zouk is a genre of music, correct?
Yes, it became a genre of music, but when just to differentiate, for example, in classes, I always differentiate so people can tell which one is which. However, if you go to Portugal, you don't have to differentiate because all these different genres they fall into the spectrum of Kizomba. So Kizomba is not just, it can be two things. It can be the umbrella under which all of these dances and music will fall into, or it can be Kizomba, like the specific form, which is Kizomba that comes from Angola, and that has a lot of influence, not just from the Angolan sounds like Semba, Capitula, Rebita, and many other forms, but also with the Caribbean sounds, which is compa, zouk, and also others. Like
Right.
sometimes you can hear a little bit of calypso or cadence. It has also more influences because zouk itself also is not a pure form. It has influences from other music from the Caribbean. So in this case, you know, when we dance kizomba, we end up dancing all of it. So that's why I
Okay.
said I didn't learn one thing. I'd learn it all because when we say kizomba, we just refer to the whole thing and not specifically to one genre. In the world, people confuse kizomba as ghetto zouk. So if you actually play a real kizomba, people say, "Oh, can you just play kizomba?" It's like, no, this is Kizomba. What you refer to is Ghetto Zouk, which is inside the Kizomba umbrella, or Tahashinha, which is also very popular nowadays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to talk about that.
Okay, hot subject.
Okay. Oh, I'm curious why they said it because I know Tarsini is a very close dance. I don't know, I could be speaking wrong, but to my knowledge, they would hide Tarsini in like a Kizumba dance.
Yeah, well, Tahashinha, it's very interesting because it didn't become well. It before it wasn't a form of dance and it wasn't a form of music. It was just almost like a subgenre of Kizomba. So it would be something inside Kizomba, so a movement inside Kizomba.
Okay, right.
For example, you have a Kizomba song, but there's a point where the song breaks and becomes more mellow. So you would use Tahashing in that slow point and not continue doing your side to side because it doesn't adjust.
Right.
Or for example, you can have a song which is very upbeat, like you can hear a stable beat, but the voice is mellow. For us, we look at somebody here in the US, and because you have a lot of beat and hip hop and whatever, so mostly everyone will dance to the beat. But for us, the voice is the most important thing because the voice is what's talking to you, is what's giving you the message. So you cannot ignore the voice and go to the beat. So if the voice is very mellow, we would use Tahashinga just in a very slow form, just because the voice is really low and very soft. Even if the beat is telling you, go step.
I'm curious, why did you say Tarsini was a hot topic?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. I got you understand.
I think, no, it can be because of the closeness.
It is very close.
Yes. So for certain cultures that are not used to it, it can be intimidating.
Yes.
Even in Angola, not Tahashinha was not a thing that you would do in a family gathering or
That's why I
anything.
said they hid it, right? They would
Yeah,
hide it. I see.
exactly. So you wouldn't do that just anywhere before. And also, one of the reasons why is because Tahashinha started in Manju, so it didn't start in a family kind of place. It started in a club.
Uh-huh.
So to bring that into a family environment, it took time, and not all families would just be okay with it. Nowadays, you have people from all ages dancing it. It just depends how open, how okay you are with it. It's like one of the best dances that I've seen was a brother and a sister dancing together, their family, and they danced it amazingly. And it didn't mean anything to them. That closeness is just human contact.
Yeah, okay.
And the difference in between Tarashing and Kizomba is, besides the closeness,
And the
is
music as well, right?
in the music is that the movement is small. Is
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's the rhythm is so good. It doesn't have to be anything else than just a dance.
Hmm.
People confuse it, but it's a shame.
I definitely understand what you're saying. I want to change subjects on you, all right? I
Hmm.
really keep it saying. I know I've done my research on you, and you have an amazing list of accolades. Just achievements. Um, I'm curious. What advice would you give to people who are currently chasing their dreams?
Oh, um, I would say first and foremost, get out of your head. That's where all the problems are. Is For me, I was born in a very small island. Um, Sexism there, and it's like a woman's place is in the kitchen, and don't go too far out. Just keep it there.
Okay.
So for me to get out of my own head and my own obstacles and the obstacles that were imposed by society and where I'm from, and just get out of the damn box was the hardest thing. And it took me a long time to do that. A lot of people came into play to actually help me and push me to that. So what I would say is surround yourself with people that get you out of the comfort zone. With not with people that say, "Oh, you're amazing, you're great," because that will just get you in the same place over and over again. If you're amazing and great, you don't have to change.
So true, exactly.
Yeah, but people that say, "Go try this, go try that," that is okay. But just try doing it that way, or try harder. And that's the people you want to surround yourself with. People that actually go do things, that don't let themselves be stopped by whatever circumstances society is placing upon you.
I definitely understand that. I'm curious. You've been dancing for so long. Um, what lessons have you learned from dancing that you have translated into everyday life?
Ooh, what lessons? Be open,
Mm,
be free, um, express yourself. Don't be afraid.
okay.
Yeah, those were the most important ones. However, what comes with this dance, and when I mentioned culture, is I was blessed to be in touch with women that had such a different experience than my own.
Mm,
Women that often were the rocks for their own families, that made things happen, um, and that transformed my life entirely. It made me stronger. It made me fierce. It made me not be afraid
mm.
of just getting out there and expose myself and take on the risks. And I think this is the biggest value I got from the dance. And I think about the ways that I could bring this to my students, because culturally speaking, and in this side of the world, women have been gaining so many rights
Yeah.
and so many opportunities. Yet it seems like we're not doing the most with what we've gained. And especially since yesterday was International Women's Day,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I spent the majority of the day meditating on this and how, when we're giving too much, sometimes we don't fully grab it and use it. And when we face hardship, we actually are able to be strong and to do something amazing with that hardship because we're learning from it.
Yeah.
And this is what the dance gave me, because this dance has an amazing spiritual background. So when we go all the way Kizomba, Semba, and the traditional dance, which is tribal dance has a lot of meaning and content in it, and it's related to a lot of things within yourself. Your connection to the divine, connection with yourself, with being a woman, to everything that surrounds life is into dance. So it gives you such a strength that you don't find in more modern dance forms.
I definitely understand that. I know. Or to my knowledge, the Simba has like a lot of pain in it. The music does, back to the days of I guess oppression and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, so Semba comes from one of the big traditions of Semba is called lamentos. Lamentos means sorrow. So it's a way to express sorrows. And Semba would be something that would be very present, for example, for funerals, because it's a way to express and connect to death. So and this comes again in this very same tradition of dance is connected to life. You cannot take dance away from life. Dance is life, and is a way to express any rite of passage, any change in your life, anything that happened would be connected, and you would be able to express it through dance. Which is, if you think about it, that would be great if we could do this every day and nowadays. And instead of going to the therapist, we would be very healthy people.
So true.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. You are now a professional instructor, correct? Or a full-time instructor. Um, Tell me about that, because I'm in the military, so I don't know nothing of what it's like to be a full-time dancer.
Wow, it's well for you being in the military. Which are you in? Air Force, Navy? Which one?
I'm actually in the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard. Okay, so it's a very different form of life. My husband is also in the military. He's in the Navy. And I can, it's very interesting to observe him and to observe the military culture, especially here in the US, because you are used to doing things in a certain way, in a very confined way, somehow structured.
Yeah,
And in being a full-time dance instructor, of course, you have to be structured and manage your own business and all of that. But there is an openness and artistic expression that comes with it, and an emotional side. It's almost like a letting go of your emotions constantly. Before I used to work in management, so it's entirely different.
it is.
Yes, office in an office job, you know that you have to go in and do certain things, and those things will be repeated themselves. Being a full-time dance instructor, and especially going from one culture to another one, I feel like I'm constantly having to adapt, having to observe, having to learn and read people
Yeah.
too, so I can do my job and connect and do it the best way that I possibly can.
I'm curious. What do you think is the hardest part about being an instructor, a dance instructor?
Ooh. So for me, the hardest thing was to be able to get out of my comfort zone of, getting your monthly paycheck on time, no stress, and where you have to be every day at a specific time.
Right.
And suddenly you have to juggle things because you have to be quick on knowing where you have to be at what time, which part of the world, which language do they speak. Learn a little bit about geography, because sometimes I end up in places that I've never heard of.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
um, and it's just so much to juggle each day that it doesn't give you time to just to settle and be comfortable.
I understand. So you're actually doing a lot of traveling then.
Yeah, so at the moment I'm not traveling as much because
You have a baby. You have a child.
I just had my baby girl Lua, and so I need to give it some time. And another thing is that I'm also changing visas. So before I was in the US with an artist visa, and now I'm changing to a green card. So that also does not allow me to travel during that process transition.
Okay. Okay. I understand. So
Yeah.
just to go back to that original question. So what is your favorite part about being a dance instructor?
People. Yeah, it's being surrounded by people, seeing seeing their smiles and how they open up and how happy they are when they're achieving something or just having fun. That is what truly makes me happy and want to do it again. Is seeing how it changes people's lives even beyond the dance floor.
Okay, I definitely understand that. I definitely understand that. I know you also have taught uh other instructors, and I guess what I mean to say really is someone named T Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'll say I used to live in Virginia, like I told you, and I actually took a class with T Boy. He taught Kizomba Kizomba class, and it was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Boy, he's an amazing dancer. I'm actually I hope that he can visit soon and that we can do a workshop or something around this area. He's an amazing dancer. So when you say I taught T-Boy, what I had to teach him the most was how to teach and how to navigate in this international dance world.
Okay.
Because sometimes you can be a good dancer, but you cannot teach that doesn't translate into somebody else learning.
Of course, there are plenty of good people, but not great teachers. Of
Exactly.
course.
So it's the ability to actually translate what you know we had to focus on. So we were together for 3 months, and I invited him to teach with me in different places, and we would talk a lot and stuff like that. And after 3 months, he's a fast learner, and he was able to be on his own, which is great.
I'm curious, what was your learning process like?
That's a great question. And a lot of people ask me that question, especially because I'm navigating in a men's world. And a lot of people is out there, they ask, what is it that she has? You know, I'm a white woman teaching an African dance. I'm a big lady in a dance where the image for the woman is, uh, they're tiny, they smile, they're so pretty, they don't say much. That's unfortunately the image that people have for women instructors in Kizomba. I'm also navigating in this very male-dominated world, and so people are always asking, "What is it that she have?" And what I have is the ability to create a bridge in between where you are and where you want to be. So almost like a translator. Translate, okay, I understand quickly what is it that you're not understanding, and how can I translate it and put it into words uh, in a way that you can really understand how to do things. That is related with my background, of course, because I used to do coaching, I used to be a trainer. Um, and of course, I love to read. I love to read about psychology and cultures, and try to understand people the most that I can. And that is actually my biggest strength, is how to do that.
I definitely understand that. I read how you both lead and follow, and in my opinion, I also dance salsa, bachata, kizomba, and Brazilian zouk. And I honestly believe that when you learn to both follow and lead, it only makes you a better dancer overall.
Yes, definitely. Because, for me, when I think about it, dance is dynamic, it's action reaction. So if I would only know one part, I wouldn't know, okay, this is the reaction, but what is the action? Or vice versa.
Yes.
So in learning, the whole spectrum of the dance makes you better for sure. And then, of course, it's not just learning, is how to translate that into an explanation that anyone can understand.
Right.
The majority of instructors, they will just focus, once they get a good explanation, they just memorize that explanation and just use the very same explanation over and over.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I can use the explanation that made more sense for the majority of the people, but I'm not going to use it all the time because I don't know if that's going to be the best at that specific point in time. So I'm constantly adapting, I'm constantly reviewing the things that I do and how I do them so that I can create a better experience. And I never assume that it's the student that is wrong. If I can be a bit hard when I teach, but I never assume it's the student. I always assume that I have to be a better teacher and to actually, find new ways of doing things so that that person can also understand.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. All right. A week ago, I did not know who you were. Um, but as of today, I can tell you are a wonderful instructor. I would be so happy to take class with you because you not only have you not only know the culture and the background of this, but I can tell you're passionate about this. I can tell you truly love it, and I know you have the skill to back it up. I know you do.
Yes, you're right. I absolutely love it. I'm very passionate.
Yes, I can
And
tell.
I'm also going to be very honest with you. A week ago, I also didn't know who you were.
I don't have as many accolades as you, so I definitely understand. I wanna I wanna talk about Miss Riquita Alta. I
Yes,
was in Houston, Texas, and I also took a Kizomba class with her, and she was astounding. She's actually from Angola, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yes, That's right.
Yeah, I'm curious. How did you get in contact with her? How do you know her?
Oh, I love Riquita. Riquita is just amazing. Um,
Yes.
for me, Riquita, besides being a friend, she's the first woman teaching solo in the UK.
Ah.
Yeah, so for me, she's a big inspiration
Hold
for
on. I
me.
just want to say I'm actually going to have her on the show as well. But continue.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
Yes. So I really admire her because she was not afraid to do that. Of course, being in London or in the UK is the north of Europe. So teaching by yourself there is easier than teaching in the south of Europe because the south is a little bit more sexist. And in the north of Europe, you can pretty much do that, and people will not find it strange.
Okay.
So when I went from Portugal to London, I was very much no, I have to keep it in my role. I'm a follow, so I have to do, even though I know things on the opposite side, I just have to keep it within my role.
Okay.
And, being there and seeing Rikita teach on her own, and, it became such a big inspiration. And I'm so fortunate that I went to London and that I started teaching there. Eddie Vance was also a big inspiration for me because he pushed me into teaching classes on my own, and I was like, oh man, I'm out of my comfort zone
Yeah,
because
I understand.
yeah, it was that same mental block of I cannot be outside of my role. I'm a woman, so I shouldn't be leading. I shouldn't be doing this. And it's all cultural, basic.
Okay.
Yeah, Riquita, she's amazing. If you hear me, Riquita, thank you for opening the roads for the rest of us.
I will definitely send her this clip right here. I got you. I want to talk to you about being ready. At what point should you just jump straight into something? I guess, or should you be hesitant or just or wait?
Oh, that's a great question. What I always say is I get ready on the way. On the way
Oh,
there, I'm
I
getting there.
like
I'm
that.
getting
I
ready.
like that.
Because if you just sit and wait to be ready, you never do it. You keep
Okay.
pushing it back. And so what I do is I always sign up before I'm ready, and then I have absolutely no excuse not to be ready.
That's so true.
Yeah. So don't wait around too much. Anybody, just force yourself to do something. If you only have half of it, it's way better than nothing. So you
Okay.
have. That's it.
I'm very curious. I was reading a lot about you, and I read that you experienced a lot of backlash to you leading, right? Are you instructing? Um, like I said, I've never been outside the state, so is it is it a lot more sexism outside the U.S. or is it do you experience the same thing here? Um,
Well, this dance, the culture that surrounds this dance is very male female centered.
mhm.
Is when you dance, for example, if I lead, I have to put a male energy into it
Right, right, right.
because the dance itself, like I said, dance does not disconnect from life. So when you're leading, you're actually being a man, and when you're following, you're actually being a woman. Even the movement that comes with it, Jinga, is you being Jinga for the woman, is you being fully a woman, you being fully a man, and you moving like a man.
Okay.
So that's why it's so confusing because the backlash comes from that feeling of why you want to be a man.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay, I understand.
And very quickly, I understood that because I understand the culture. I understood that. Then I would just simply ask, okay, I understand what you're saying, but is it poorly executed or do you actually like it? And they would say, no, I like it, but it doesn't feel right.
Mm.
And that's because of this cultural side of the dance.
Okay. Can you tell me about your Kizomba teacher training for women? Uh,
Yeah. So this started a few years back because I felt that it was very isolated. So I felt like the whenever I would go to a festival teach on my own, I would be pretty much the only woman there teaching.
Okay.
And everywhere I would go, constantly the same thing. That I would not find some other woman teaching on her own.
Mm.
And I did not want to be the exception to the rule. I wanted it to be more common
Yeah.
and more open. And I really hated the fact that you would have a class. Some classes just the male instructor teaching on his own, but even if he had a female teaching with him, there would be nothing said on the class.
Okay.
They would just stand there and be pretty, and at the end do a demo, and that's it. And I wanted to develop something that women could take charge, but not people think that the course is for women who wants to lead um, the dance, but no, it's women that can be leaders. Even if they're working with somebody else and they're just going to be teaching for the ladies, you can still be a leader. You can still inspire. You understand the dynamic of the dance fully, so you can better incorporate their role instead of just being there silent. Because the women in class, they pay the same as the guys to be there. So it's how come the leads will have explanation about technique, but the follows are often receiving this message. No, you just follow. You don't have to do anything. You just follow. Yeah, but just following takes a lot of work.
Oh, of course. In my opinion, because I'm more so a lead, I feel like the follow has the more difficult of a job, in my opinion.
Well, it's just different. I wouldn't say it's more. I wouldn't say it's harder than leading.
That's what I mean, though, because every lead is different. I'm always gonna lead the same. You have to adapt to every new dance.
Yeah, in terms of like creating muscle memory, it's hard because you have to be fast adapting. You have to be fast letting go, and yes, and this is why sometimes nowadays male students, they're learning how to follow, but what they actually do is the same as leading. They memorize a set of steps and they say, oh, I know how to follow now, and I'm like, no, you still have to learn how to actually follow. And that's the hardest thing, is to learn techniques that do not involve memorizing steps. Of course, you still have to know your basics, but that involves a lot of maneuverability, a lot of flexibility, and a quick change of pace, of rhythm, of timing, and to adapt to anyone, really.
I'm curious. If there was one piece of advice you could give to someone to instantly make them a better dancer, what would you tell them?
Stop memorizing steps. Start listening to the music and what the music is saying. Because nowadays it feels very formatted. It feels like everyone is dancing the same way, focusing on the beat, but we can't actually listen to the music, to the message, and have fun with one another. And this is what I miss the most. It doesn't have to be a perfect dance. It doesn't have to be a dance full of stuff. We just have to, acknowledge one another and have fun together.
Yes, that's very important.
Yes, that's the spirit of being in a community. It's like, I see you. Do you see me? Let's have fun with it.
I'm curious. What do you see for the future of Kizomba and Semba and Tadashini and all that?
That's a very hard question.
I understand.
Question. I feel that Kizomba will always be around because
I hope so.
in its own cultural form. However, these fusions and
Urban Kids and all that.
all of that is happening with Kizomba is getting further and further away from what it is.
Yeah.
And because of the pressure of marketing is developing so fast. Like the first urban instructors, that wasn't so long ago. Nowadays they're almost old school because it's such a fast pace. And there's this pressure to create the next big thing and the next big thing that it doesn't make sense anymore. But hopefully for Kizomba, we are still able to keep our niche. It won't be as commercial, as flashy, as it won't have all these marketing stunts attached to it. But somehow it stays because people will always want to come back to a more simple place, centered place, a grounded place in their lives.
Okay.
Yeah, and culturally speaking, of course, it will be carried on because it's attached to a culture and to history.
I I know, or to my knowledge, I heard that there is a little bit of bumping of heads between, Kizomba Semba and like the new fusion. The
Yeah.
people who are putting, like, I guess, mixing tango with it. Is that right? Could you tell me about that?
Yeah, there is a bit of conflict sometimes, and this is again is due to lack of understanding one another. Um, what the people from sometimes Kizomba dancers, they're called the haters, or that we're always trying to create conflict or stuff like that. And it's simply because they do not understand that this is not just a dance, it's a way of life. It has a history behind it, and the history is quite painful. So when you take your own experience, which is this is just a dance, this is just steps, can we just have fun? And you make fun of a dance that has a bigger meaning behind, you are becoming disrespectful, even though they don't know. They don't know they're doing this. So the biggest thing is to actually be educated enough to understand that this is not just a dance. It has a meaning behind. This made people be together and connect in a time of war, in a time of despair, and a time of losing identity and not being allowed to be yourself, to be Angolan, to experience freedom. And so when somebody comes from Europe or the US and whenever, and they just talk about it in a way that is very superficial, it's hurtful for a lot of people that had to experience a lot of hardship. And it's simply not fair. But life is not made of fairness. So I believe that the way that we have to go around this is to educate, is to let people know what things mean and how they have such a deep meaning, such a connection to ourselves as human beings. And of course, this is related to Angolan history, but every human being around the world, we experience the same things. And if you can just tap into that thing, that at the end of the day, we're all the same, we all experience the same emotional process, the same pain, and we can all experience hardship. If we can just connect to that, we will be able to be more respectful towards one another.
That's 100% true. I think you're just saying, be more empathetic, right? More empathy.
Yeah, that's right.
I wanna switch gears on you. All right.
Okay.
So I want to ask you a series of these rapid fire questions. Okay. I want you to try and answer these, and we'll say under 5 seconds or less. All right. Yeah.
I feel trapped.
There's nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna start it. Okay. If you could meet anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Mother Teresa or Elvis.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do outside of dancing?
Reading.
Okay. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Because she's very adventurous.
What is the best gift you've ever received?
My baby girl, Lua.
Hey, wonderful, wonderful. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Flying.
Okay. What is your favorite salsa song?
Oh gosh. Hmm. I'm gonna have to skip that one.
Nah, no worries, no worries. What is one item you could never live without?
My phone.
Yeah, second person to say that. As a child, what did you want to be growing up?
Dancer or an English teacher?
Okay, all right, it turned out for you. Um, what advice would you give 25-year-old Lucia?
Oh, don't take things too seriously.
Mhm. Okay, okay, okay. Um, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Hmm. Don't focus too much on things. They will happen naturally.
Okay. And the counter to that, what is the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
That's funny. People telling me that I should be doing this or I should
Okay.
be doing that.
Just trying to live up to someone else's expectations.
Yes,
I definitely understand
exactly.
that. Um, okay, you are stuck on an island for 5 days, and you can only bring three things. What are they?
Oh gosh. Water, um, food, a canoe.
All right, to get off the island. All right. Um, what is your favorite dance congress?
Oh gosh. Okay, I do have a few favorite ones.
Oh, only
One,
one. Give me one. Give me one.
I cannot do that.
Okay, give me all of them because people might want to
Okay,
go to
it's
them.
just
Tell me
three.
all of them.
Three. One that is happening right now is Awaken ish in Australia. I'm actually missing it, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wish I could be there, but at the same time, it's okay. I will be there next year. It's
Okay.
amazing. Luxembourg Kizomba Festival and Warsaw Kizomba Festival. Those three are amazing.
Say the first one for me again.
Awake in Australia?
Okay, okay, okay. I got you. I just want to make sure I can check it out after this. And I think you actually that's all of them. You did a wonderful job.
Those were very good questions.
I'm glad you liked them. I'm glad you liked them. So speaking on events, I know you're going to be at the Spring Bakura weekend. Is that correct?
That's right, in Denver.
Endeavor. I'm curious. How did you get involved with that?
Uh, well, actually, I've never been to Denver before. So the organizer just reached out to me and said that Eddie was going to be there as well. So I was just accepted the challenge. That's it. But I'm still looking forward to be there and meet them and just have fun with all of that. And of course, see my brother again at events. He's also going to be there. So
Wonderful. I didn't get a chance to write down the dates. When is that? The Spring Bakura weekend. Do you know?
this is next weekend.
Okay, what's coming up? Oh my goodness. Okay, coming up. So yeah, tell me about Eddie Vince. I saw a couple of videos of you and him teaching, which is actually very helpful. You were talking about I guess the frame, which is very important, dance frame. But I'm curious, tell me how you met him.
So I met him when I went to London, and he invited me to work with him. So in the beginning, we weren't dance partners or anything. We were just collaborators. And even nowadays, we are not dance partners in the usual sense of the word. We are dance partners, but because we collaborate a lot with one another. But the rest of the time, we just teach on our own. I love to work with Eddie. He's amazing in his own way. You have to understand how he is, because the thing that I like the most and he is because he never stays still. He's never happy with where he is.
Okay.
So it's so interesting to have someone to debate with and to bang heads with and to if you don't fight, if you don't, it's not that we fight, we actually never fought, but if we don't have a debate
I understand what you mean.
we don't grow. We just stay in the same position all the time. And that's what I love about him. And every time that we go away and we come back, we are different people. We are
Exactly.
different instructors. So every time that we meet is like adapting to one another very fast and making it happen.
I feel like what you're saying is as two instructors, you both are forever students, always learning, right?
Exactly. That's right.
I definitely understand that. I want to ask you this. Uh, what advice can you give to beginner dancers who feel like they're stuck in like that beginner's rut?
Hmm. Well, first, just practice.
Okay.
Dance as much as you can. Listen to music all the time. Have music in your car. Listen to it in your house. It will click. It will click. But you need to practice. It's not just 1 hour, 2 hours per week, or one social per week. There's gonna make it happen. It has to be a constant thing. You're getting dressed. While you're getting dressed, try doing a few dance moves.
Okay, I understand.
Supermarket, you have your headphones, just nobody cares. They don't know you anyway.
Yeah, I
Just
do understand that. That's loving life. I want to ask you, and what about for intermediate dancers? What does it take for them to take that leap from intermediate to advanced?
that is a bit harder because at that point in time, you need to be surrounded with people that have the ability to pursue further.
Right.
It could be your dance instructor. So the best thing that you have to do is to go to your dance instructor and say, I want to take things further. And I would like to have a special mentorship or dance privates, or I would like you to guide me to go from here to there. Can you build a strategy for me? That would be the best way. Another way is if you can actually be surrounded by amazing dancers.
That helps.
Take a trip to Angola, join a group of amazing dancers, stay there for a couple of weeks. It's more expensive, but it's an amazing thing.
It'll be worth it though. That's such an experience.
Exactly. So you have these two ways. Either you can go to someone that can guide you, or you can be surrounded by people that cannot guide you, but you will be infused into it.
I'm just. Have you visited Angola ever?
Yeah, I've been there. And actually it's just such an amazing experience if people have the chance to do that, and you can actually do both things there, which is be surrounded by people that have an amazing level and to talk to some instructors that are very good, and they can actually provide that mentorship.
That's awesome.
So you just stay there for a month and you'll come back a great dancer.
Of course. I'm curious. How how would you vet a teacher? Saying like, okay, this I want to go with this person. And my thought is, if you see them dance and you like it, is that good enough to say, okay, I want them to teach me? Or how would you vet a teacher?
No, just for me, I observe teaching skills in a class. In a class, or with, it doesn't have to be a proper class setting. It can be just hearing that person explain something to someone, you know, and how well they connect and how well they're explaining it, not from their own cultural background, but to the people that they're teaching. So that's for me the most important thing. And of course, great dancers, they can be taught how to be teachers, and some people have more of it than others. The only thing that I feel that is mandatory is that for you to be a teacher, you have to serve, you have to give. If you're there just for the fame, for me, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and you probably not get too far.
That makes 100% sense. That does. I'm curious. When I say the word musicality, what does that mean to you?
That's a good question, and that's actually a question that have been, well, actually a word that have been thrown around a lot, especially
I hear it a lot.
kids. And with urban kids, they say, "Oh, there's a lot of musicality. Kizomba does not have musicality." That's very wrong. That's very wrong. The problem is that Kizomba and Semba, the musicality, is harder to teach than in urban. the music in urban kids, the music that they use is very simple. It's focused on beats, very easy to hear.
Yeah.
When we're talking about Kizomba, especially about Semba, we're talking about polyrhythms. So hard to adapt a class to it. So hard to actually say, let's work musicality. And for example, let's just work with this song. How do we listen to this? Do we go with the voice? Do we go with the beat? Do we go with the guitar? Do we come back to the voice? Which one is the instrument that's going to stand out in the process? And the hard thing is that it's really hard to perform, to dance in a very good way, and it's very hard for us to teach musicality. So whenever I teach a musicality class, it takes me a long time to prepare, way longer than a regular class.
Right.
Because I will have to adapt very well to the music that I pick, and I have to know how to explain why we're going to follow this instead of that. And what are the alternatives? Could you actually choose something else besides this one? And this is why it's harder to teach musicality in Kizomba.
You're the second person to say that, and I can understand that teaching musicality is probably one of the more difficult things to do. I definitely understand that. It's Lucy. I just want to say, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. You have a wealth of knowledge and information.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course.
It was a pleasure. It was great meeting you, and I hope that I get to meet you in person.
Oh my God, I would love to take one of your classes. I'm serious. I want to say this though. What is? I know you have Spring Record Weekend coming up. Do you have any other events coming up?
I do, but I would really have to look at the schedule.
I understand. I know you're a busy lady. I know it. I'm curious. How can people reach you?
Okay, so you can reach me through my Facebook profile or my page, and you have there a link that you can message me or email me directly from my Facebook page. Okay. I also share a lot my email address and my phone address. I'm working on my website, but I'm really not the most organized person in the world when it comes to doing those things. I'm just so passionate about the classes and I keep going, but things like website and stuff like that, they keep on being behind. But yeah, through my Facebook page, you can definitely get in touch and send me an email directly. Anyone, if you have questions, if you want to have classes, anything, you can write to me.
Awesome. I would definitely link all your information when I post it. All right, I got you. I want to ask you this, before we wrap this up, is there any last thing that you just want to say? Get off your chest?
No, not really. I just feel happy that I had the opportunity to do this as part of my life. I'm so happy with all the people that I got to meet, and I feel I'm very blessed. Also very blessed to meet you today. It was amazing talking to you. and that's pretty much it.
Hey, awesome.
I know you have a baby in hands. I know you have a busy day planned. So, like I said, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Terrence. Have a good day.
You as well. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.